one of the concerns that I had, which is probably a little bit different than some of my colleagues, as we are increasing our SEL staff and we have some budget focus on social emotional learning. I was not under the impression as we move forward with that would be sort of distributed to all students. It seemed to me that we had, after COVID, a lot of students with very particular needs and very particular requirements for extra support. So my concern with this schedule is, if students do not have SEL needs that are inherent in their ability to succeed, why would we be requiring that in a schedule? And why would we be creating that? I absolutely support the need for more instructional time, but in this case, I think for students who could have more instruction, you're kind of taking that by presenting things that they may not need.
Yeah. So understand your concern, point well taken. And I think that goes back to one of the closing slides where we said we're open to an ongoing conversation and that principals can work with their student associations and organizations, with their constituent groups, to really look at the framework that we've laid out as guidance for high school principals and then figure out what works for their particular school community. And so to your point, does every student need a 30-minute block of social emotional learning every day? Obviously, the answer to that question is every student, no. But some students do. So we're trying to get to a point that schools can be responsive to their particular school community. So we've set up a guidance, is framework with a fixed number of times. Now, how they move some of those components within that time, that's what we're open to in a conversation, allowing our principals to work, like I said, with those student groups to figure out what works best for their student body.
Okay, are you going to be discussing that with parents as well? Because I think the parents have a very great perspective on what their students need emotionally as well. And I think we should be bringing them into these conversations too.
Yeah, so a lot of that conversation in terms of reorientation, the reorientation of that framework will be left up to school principals. Now, it's best practice for them. And as we talked about, didn't just say student organizations, associations. I also talked about constituent groups, which include parents. So as principals are having these conversations with those organizations, student organizations, they also should be obviously looping parents into any modification they may make within the context of the framework that we've laid out.
And is there an opt-out option for these?
For
social emotional learning time?
To just opt out completely?
Yes.
Not at this point, no. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I would want to look into something like that. I would be interested. I would not allow my students, if they were in high school, to partake in these particular types of engagement. I don't want that for my kids, because I think that their focus should be on academics. I'm sure that there are other parents who probably feel the same way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ellis.